I've tried in so many different ways, using so many different words and so many different verbs and adjectives and adverbs and nouns and proper nouns to explain to Trump supporters why Trump's handling of Russia's invasion of Ukraine is so bad. But I think in the clips we're going to watch here, maybe, right? We like to believe a Trump supporter could see what I'm saying about how if we compare how Trump handled when he was saying Zelensky was the impediment to peace, which was absurd all along, but even assuming that premise, how he handled his irritation at Zelensky was shouting at him and berating him in front of the world, versus now even Trump can't make the argument that it's a Zelensky thing. Because Zelensky showed up to the peace talks, Putin didn't. Zelensky agrees to the ceasefire, Putin didn't. Zelensky's the one defending his country that's being invaded, Putin's the one invading the country that's violating the sovereignty. So there's no argument, but Trump is such, I hate to say it, not really, a coward when it comes to Putin. And there's fear in his eyes when he's asked, so will you punish Russia? You punished Ukraine. You cut off aid to them, or at least Hegseth did without your approval, but then you had to stand by it. You cut off U.S. intelligence to them. And you screamed at Zelensky. But what are you going to do to Russia now that you even admit it's not a Zelensky problem? Or you struggle to almost kind of admit that. So this comes from the interview on Fox News. Let's start with this clip.
And I think we'll do it fast, too. I think Putin is tired of this whole thing. He's not looking good, and he wants to look good. Don't forget, this was supposed to end in 1 week. And if he didn't get stuck in the mud with his army tanks all over the place, they would have been in Kiev in about 5 hours. And who gave the javelins? Do you remember who gave the javelins? Was it
Trump? Javelins, Obama, blankets. Yeah, we know.
Barack Hussein Obama? No, it was Donald Trump gave the javelins.
Do you think your perception of it has changed? Is Putin now the obstacle to peace in your mind?
Look, I had a real rough session with Zelensky because I didn't like what he said. And he was not making it easy. And I always said he doesn't have the cards. And he doesn't have the cards. And, I'm being honest. He doesn't have the cards. You're dealing with a massive army, and you're dealing with somebody that's brave, that had great equipment. But
that's brave. Oh, I see. Is Putin the impediment to peace? Well, I had a rough meeting with Zelensky. Did you not hear me? Or are you clinically stupid? As our favorite Republican Senator John Kennedy once said, I'm not saying you're the stupidest person in the world, but you better hope the stupidest person in the world doesn't die. Okay? And I went down to the bayou and found a rock and said, the moon is light. That's what my grandma always told me. All right, if you know, you know. So he's weak, right? Does that not bother you, Trump supporters? When our ally, who will be kind to him no matter what, and who is in a weaker position compared to the United States, is the one he's upset with, he berates them publicly. When it's the invading force that even he can't really avoid admitting, all right, Putin's the one not showing up. So now he just says, well, Putin's waiting until I meet with him, and I was going to meet with him, but I decided not to because Putin wasn't going to be there. But Putin was there because I wasn't there, but I wasn't there because Putin was there, and I was there. Zelensky was there. I wasn't there. Putin was there.
Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap.
Yeah. You have no idea the physical toll that 3 vasectomies had on a man. And it's weakness. He's scared. He's petrified to say a negative word about Putin. Stop saying you might put the sanctions on, and just do it, Mr. Strong Guy. We'll go back to the interview, but just to remind you painfully, this is how Trump treated Zelensky, who's having his country invaded, but he can't say a negative word about the invader.
Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're
dictating.
in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influenced.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influenced.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and
of
he
the
happens
war.
to be right about
From the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Bret,
position.
I was.
Why is he caressing? Why is he nicely cupping with his hands a buttocks that is not there while he rants about this?
Position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very,
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a
Bret,
good position.
I was.
You don't
You're not in a good position. Back to the butt.
have the cards right now. With us, you start
I'm
having
not
cards.
playing
But
cards.
right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives of
anymore.
millions of people.
You think
All right, so a sick and depraved act of complete misunderstanding on Trump's part or maliciousness, and his fondness of Putin has taken him to one of the greatest humiliations of his presidency, which is that after promising 24 hours, it's that simple, you could solve it. That bippity boppity boo, it would be solved. And now he can't because of what we were saying. That's not to, yay, you couldn't solve it. That's not that. I wish he could have. It's that the ideological problems with you proclaiming that proved back then that you didn't understand what was happening, which was that Putin didn't want peace. So you just calling him wasn't going to get it. That's why the war started, was because he didn't want peace. There's this crazy thing. When people want peace, they don't traditionally invade other countries proactively. And that's why you said that, and which is why it was wrong, which is why you should learn from it. One other note, and I'll play this next clip. Please do click the subscribe button. That's important. And the like button. And the join button. And comment. But Trump said that they would have had tanks going into Kiev, as he said, or Kiev. They in a week, Putin would have taken over the whole country, or at least taken over the capital. He would have had victory in a week if it weren't for mud, which is why he then didn't have victory for years. The logic doesn't make sense, because in truth, Trump doesn't even want to admit that Putin's been also humiliated by this and has sacrificed devastatingly hundreds of thousands of his own countrymen for a cause that is purely a lust for more power and territory. And he couldn't even take over a what was assumed to be militarily weaker country. So this whole he would have taken out, no, he didn't, which is proof of the passion to protect their country from Ukrainians and the importance of us supporting them with aid. Here's more.
They're not going to China anymore.
You were going to go to Turkey. Putin doesn't show. Zelensky shows. What do you think?
No, I was never scheduled to go.
No, you weren't scheduled, but you were talking about maybe you would go if it all came together.
But I tell you what,
so what do you
I
think?
would not have wanted to disappoint UAE, because that was my
big
stop.
deal.
And if I went to Turkey, I couldn't go here, and it would have been very hard for me to say I'm not doing it.
On the substance.
Why was Bret Baier smiling there? That was weird. But this part really gets at what I'm talking about.
Out of it, in terms of, let's say, Ukraine.
Right.
You know what they get out of it? A large portion of the country.
It's just, Senator Lindsey Graham has 73 co-sponsors on this bill to sanction Russian oil and anybody who buys Russian oil. He's making the pitch for the bill saying, why should China get the benefit of cheap oil from Russia as Putin continues the war? At some point, there has to be leverage on Putin. And I assume that you've talked about that.
Nobody uses leverage better than me. Look what I did to Iran. Look
so
what I
it's
did.
changing.
It's not changing. I always had that. I will use that if I have to. I'd rather not use that. By the way, that's a big deal. I just put it on Venezuela. It's secondary sanctions, it's called. And I just did it with Venezuela.
And you could do it with Iran, too.
I just did it with Iran. It's basically, if you buy oil from Iran.
Look at that posture. Trump, for our podcast, is so slouched. If he were any more slouched, I think his chest would just be on his legs. That is That can't be good for the spine, can it? So yeah, he doesn't have much logic. I did on Venezuela. Why don't you do it on Russia? Oh, because I did it on someone else. That's not even a relevant point. What? You put sanctions on somebody else? I'm not asking you about somebody else. I'm asking you about Russia. Because you're scared. You're a scared little boy.
You can't do business with the United States. And you see the ships just leaving that port. You know, in Venezuela, it was amazing.
But why not do it with Russia?
You had to see, well, I will. If I do, honestly, I will. If we're not going to make a deal, we're going to see whether or not, this is Turkey time. You know, this is now, we're talking Turkey. And we'll
Oh, man. I think I've heard that exact same quote from my uncle on Thanksgiving. This is Turkey time. Hey, why on earth, do you disagree with me on politics? Are you really going to go for Trump? Whoa. This is Turkey time. We're eating turkey. We can't yell at each other over turkey.
with Russia. You had to see, well, I will. If I do, honestly, I will. If we're not going to make a deal, we're going to see whether or not, this is Turkey time. You know, this is now, we're talking Turkey. And we'll see what happens. That would be crushing for Russia because they're having a hard time now with the economy. Oil prices are low, you know.
It would change the dynamic.
Okay, so he's incompetent.
Give me a
Why are
Biden.
you the way that you are?
Give me a Biden soundbite.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
What? Okay. Why aren't you doing anything to pressure Russia into ending the war when you were willing to do everything to pressure Ukraine when they didn't have the power to end the war and they were just defending themselves? Why am I doing that voice? I have a voice for this. Let's see. But sanctions on Venezuela. Have you seen the ports? It's wow. No, I will sanction them. Well, why don't you now? Well, because I will, because I won't, because it's turkey time. Well, aren't you? What will you? Joe Biden's incompetent. Excuse me?
Oil prices are low, you know.
It would change the dynamic.
Okay, so he's incompetent. He doesn't want to see the war because, you know, everything he said was wrong. The way he talked about Putin, the way he said the threats. I mean, it's just wrong. But here's
what. I know Biden has said some things, but we have to acknowledge that was also what was that?
He doesn't want to see the war because, you know, everything he said was wrong. The way he talked about Putin, the way he said the threats. I mean, it's just wrong. But here's what was really wrong. He let oil go from. Okay,
and then on to the oil talking points we've addressed a bunch. This is what Trump says. But it's over, right? The jig is up. Is that the phrase? The dance is completed. What's that thing? The salsa has been finished. The opera, the curtains have closed, right? The football game has had the last whistle. I think you get the point. You can't keep going with this because you're president now. So Trump tried to say the only reason the war was going on and why he could end it at 24 hours because Biden was speaking about it wrong. His threats and his wrong, as Trump said. But now you're president, so you can say all the right things, no? But even that's not working because Putin doesn't want peace, which is the thing we've been telling you for this whole time, so you need to handle it differently. All right, let's go on to something else. It's a lot of him saying that, but I just want to have a second to talk about something different in this interview, like China. China!
People, I've got 150 countries that want to make deals. You know, you have a lot of countries.
The market was really happy with the China situation and the sit-down with
and
the Treasury Secretary.
If I didn't do that deal with China, I think China would have broken apart.
Not us, them.
We weren't going to break. We're not going to break. They would have broken apart. You know, our country has a lot of spirit. And you know why? Because of November 5th.
Those edits are really abrupt. I noticed that when he started saying, I gave javelins. I would like to put money on the fact that after he said that, he went, there's a phrase, Trump, javelins, Obama, blankets. As he said in the Oval Office with Zelensky over and over, and it was very strange. But they're trying to make it sound more reasonable. Speaking of editing, Trump, are you going to sue Fox News for this? No. But yeah, China. What does it mean that they're about to break apart? They're just gonna break apart like some nice chocolate brittle. What does that even mean? And then if your goal was to break them apart, why did you make a deal that saved them from breaking apart? Which I thought is kind of what you were wanting to do. And I love how he goes, yeah, the market reacted good. They reacted good because you backed off of what you were doing. That's the crazy thing. You keep causing a problem, then you back off of the thing that you said was the great policy idea that no one liked and everyone was economically scared of. And then when you back off, you take credit for the fact that people are happy when you back off the thing that you said was good. Here's Trump bringing up this N-word joke again.
Everyone was stronger, to a point where the next one's going to be, you know what, the N-word. You know what the N-word is, right?
Nuclear.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
I figured you'd want to clean that up. No, it's the N-word. That's a very nasty word, right? In a lot of ways. The N-word used in a nuclear sense, that's the worst thing that can happen. And I think they were very close. The hatred was great. And
this is the thing you don't understand. I know all of you watching, you go, ugh. So it's just right? There are hundreds right now of accounts on X that have MAGA in their thumbnail or in their profile pic and are posting, Trump is so funny. Look at this clip. Trump does it again. Genius. Other things they will say positively. And it's confused. Like, okay, he said that a million times. N-word. You thought I was saying the N-word? Oh, no. Nuclear. Good job. Because we thought you were meaning the other one, but you really mean. Is that why it was so funny? Is that the connection? Oh, because for the N-word, we all know the N-word, but you're saying a different N-word. Oh my God. Share your thoughts in the comments. Get the bonus show by clicking that join button below.